account executive for your region in beautiful Southern California. And Ryan asked us to kind of put this together with Angie leading us to discuss Braining Camp and hopefully answer any of the questions that have come up with you guys using it so far. So without further ado, I'll hand it over to Angie.
All right, great. Thank you, Nathan. Ryan, did you need to say anything before we get started?
No, just I think
All right, well, good afternoon. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. You're good.
Okay. Well, good afternoon, teachers. Hopefully we have all TK and kindergarten teachers. You guys are our experts in early numeracy, so we're very happy that you're here. My name is Angie Meredith, and I am with Hand2Mind. I'm an educational consultant. I was in the classroom for 32 years and have been an educational consultant for 6. So I've been in the education field for almost 40 years, and hopefully I can answer whatever questions that you have as we go through this. I know that it's quite a bit different to do this virtually rather than face-to-face, especially with our young learners. I'm going to ask you to make sure that you're using the chat for any questions that you have. Don't do the question answer or raising your hand, because that tends to kind of tie us up and we have to go locate that. So just pop it in the chat. We've got Nathan and Ryan looking at the chat box, and I'll try to also keep an eye on the chat box. Kind of pop in there when you can, put in some ideas, put in some thoughts. We also want you to have your Braining Camp up, because in order to be more comfortable using Braining Camp, you got to actually dive in. You're not going to hurt it. You're not going to damage it in any way. So we want you to dive in and use it. So again, I said that I was with Hand2Mind, and you may not recognize just the name Hand2Mind. Our name has changed a lot over the years. We've been around for over 50 years with supplemental materials and assisting teachers, assisting parents, assisting students in the area of mathematics, literacy, and science, and STEM. So even though our name has changed, ETA Hand2Mind, ETA Cuisinaire, we have now just stuck with Hand2Mind. The only thing that hasn't changed is our philosophy. We believe in hands-on learning. We believe children learn best by doing. And I'm going to start with this quote because I think it's especially helpful as we're looking at manipulative use and hands-on materials, that one of the biggest challenges that teachers face is trying to teach mathematics in ways they did not experience as students. So we're going to help you feel more comfortable using these manipulatives, help you feel more comfortable doing it virtually even. So it doesn't matter whether you are face-to-face, whether you are virtual, whether you are a mixture of the two, we're going to be right there with you along the journey. What I want you to do right now is pop into the chat. And I want to hear about how are you planning on using math manipulatives when you're working remotely with your students? How are you going to use them? What are some of your favorite manipulatives that you want to use? What are some of your problems that you're running across as you're trying to teach remotely and use manipulatives remotely? So pop that into your chat. Make sure you found the chat. Very good. Patterns and shapes. Oh, those patterns are so important. Create pictures with those pattern blocks. Dot talks. Yes, those are very important. Counting collections, 10 frames, pattern shapes. That patterning is the very beginning of our algebra understanding. Yes, counting collections. You TK teachers and kindergarten teachers, you should be all about counting. Counting, counting, counting. Okay, good. Excellent. All right. So what we want to talk about today is you have access to Braining Camp. And if Braining Camp is a digital manipulative resource, and teachers, parents, students just love it because it's easy to use and it provides that hands-on experience in a digital way. And we know that you're going to need some virtual support, and Braining Camp is going to fit that need. Braining Camp does match our physical models. So we partnered with Braining Camp, Hand2Mind partnered with Braining Camp, so that as students are looking at these visual models, it should look just like their physical models that they've used in the classroom. And you might even have student kits that they take home and actually use some manipulatives at home too. There are 16 different manipulatives on the Braining Camp site, and anywhere from very basic primary manipulatives, Reckon-Ricks, color tiles, all the way up through high school with algebra tiles and XY coordinate grids. So there should be plenty of manipulatives for you to choose from. And there are a lot of benefits to using virtual manipulatives. They're not consumable, so we don't have to worry about kids using them up. There's an endless supply. They're clean. You don't have to sterilize them. They're easy to manipulate, easy to move around. They're very convenient. Kids can access it on an iPad, on a computer. Very interactive because you can design some counting collections for students to use. And then those collections, the kids can manipulate and send back to you what they've done. Okay, very visual, very eye-catching, and very engaging. So your students will really enjoy them. So I'm going to move over now to Braining Camp. Okay. So hopefully that's what you're seeing on your screen. I am going to kind of move my video aside so that we have a little bit more room. I'll leave my chat box over there. Okay, so I want you to take a look. How familiar are you with Braining Camp? How much have you already dived in? So in the chat box, put in a 0 to a 5, kind of rate yourself. How comfortable are you? 0 is, I haven't even logged in. And up to 5 is, I have logged in and I have tried every manipulative. I have been playing. It's easy, easy, easy. Okay, so we got a wide range, 0, 1, 3, 5. I'm going to pull Yvonne in to help me out here. Okay, good. All right. So we do have quite a wide range. I hope that by the end of this, you'll feel comfortable enough to, if you haven't been diving in it, you'll feel comfortable enough to jump right in. I want to show you, first of all, just a few basics. Okay, so right now you're looking at my home page and it shows all 16 manipulatives. I'm going to just pull one of them up just to let you kind of see, because most of them work pretty much the same way. So as I'm looking at the screen, you've got this big white screen, okay? This is our board, our work area, and we tried to make it as large as possible for you to be able to have lots of room to work and manipulate things, okay? Over on the very far left are some, these first two, this little guy, this little Braining Camp guy, and this apps, both of those do basically the same thing. They take you back to the home page. So if I were to click this, I would page. Only my internet's getting a little slow here. Okay, so now I'm going back to my color tiles. Also along the side, this tutorial is really something that I want you to try. Not right now, not right this second, but what I want you to do later on is just click on a manipulative that you use in your classroom and then click on that little tutorial, and it's going to do a very quick kind of run through of some different things that how that particular manipulative works. Okay. There's also a section for teaching ideas. So you can actually look some ideas up. Maybe you're getting ready to teach a particular concept and you want to know, what has Braining Camp already done a video on for me that I can take a look at? The share button is something we're going to use tonight. Okay. Well, I say tonight because I'm in Georgia and it's already after 6 o'clock here. You're in the afternoon. So we're going to use this afternoon. The share button is going to allow you to pre-make some screens for your kids to work on. And those do not expire. So in other words, you can share those with students and you can work with your colleagues to develop several different ones for each unit that you're doing and share them. So I've actually put mine in a Google Doc and I just copy and paste, pop it in. I'm going to show you where that's done and I want us to try that tonight. So you're going to be creating a few things on your Braining Camp and then you're going to share that with us in the chat and I'll show you how. This tan section here, this is our tray. And this shows what the manipulatives are. So I'm in color tiles. So these are actual, what the color tiles look like. There's 4 colors, they're 1-inch square, okay? And I drag them into my main screen, or I can click to quickly put them in, okay? So here are my manipulatives. If I were to keep going down and go across the bottom of the screen, this is if there's a background available for yours. So this has a grid. If I want my kids to line some things up, I can actually put the grid in the background. Some manipulatives have a grid, some do not. And as I keep going across the bottom on this tan section, here's accounts. There might be some times when I want to see, and I want the kids to see what they have on the screen. And this told me that I have 2 yellow, 1 red, 4 blue, and 1 green. And sometimes I'll want to turn that counts off. Okay. If I keep going across the bottom, I have some tools. Okay, and for this particular one, I have a grouping circle. So maybe I've got a bunch of tiles that I put out and I want the kids to sort them. Maybe I want them to put all the blue tiles in. Okay, so I can put more than 1 sorting circle out. I might want a 10 frame. And I might want the kids to represent a specific number. I might want an open array, not so much probably for TK and K, except if I want to use it for a 5 frame. That's probably about, if you're working with recognizing numbers up to 5, subitizing up to 5, then you might want the 1 by 5. There's also a text, so I can actually type in and move that around the screen. I've also got markers, and I can change the color of my marker. I can also change the point, how broad I want that point. And then I can write with my marker. Oh, maybe. Yeah, maybe I can write 3 plus 2. Or maybe I can write, how many blue ones did I have? I had 4. And then I can put that. I also have a highlighter, and again, I can change the color to the highlighter, and I can change the point. I have an eraser. I can either erase just certain things that I've written, or I can also clear anything on my screen that's been drawn on. If I want to clear the whole screen, I clear all. Now also in the bottom right, I have some different screens. So I have lots of different subpages for each page. So I'm on the color tiles page and I just have it set to basic. I can also set it to a number line. So I can count and put tiles down and it shows me here what I have. or I can even graph. Maybe the kids have picked their favorite color, and then we can actually build a bar graph here. So I'm going to put it back on basic. Okay. So that's basically an overview of how it works. The share feature, which is what I remember I said we were going to be using that tonight. Let's say that I had asked you to, I asked my students, and I'm going to take the grid off the back, to build a 10 frame to show me 7. And then I asked them to share that with me. Okay. They would go over after they've built theirs, over here to the share button. I see link or code. I see where they can copy that image and send or download that image. Today, we're going to be using this link or code. So if I click that, it's going to generate a share code for me. It's also going to generate a link. We're going to look at the share code. I'm going to copy that. I can either highlight it and copy, or I can press here and it will copy it to my clipboard. Then I can go over to the chat box and paste it. And you should see over in the chat box that same code. And I can go back to the beginning. I can actually copy this code. Down here at the very bottom, it says share code. I'm going to paste that code in, press go, and it takes me right back to what I saved. Okay, so that shared page is a workable page. It's going to copy that page exactly what it looks like when I press share. It's not going to affect what other people do. So in other words, all of you could download that to your Braining Camp, and all of you could have that, and all of you can manipulate it. If I asked you to add 2 to it, you could do that as well. And it's not going to affect what other people do. It's independent for each student or for each participant. So we can make pre-made screens, and I've got several made tonight, so you'll see what it looks like to pre-make a screen so that you don't have to spend time during your talking time with your kids, spending time building that activity page. It's already done for you. Okay, and again, you can work with other teachers to develop several codes and then share your codes with each other. Okay. All right. So I'm going to go back to the home page. Hopefully you have your Braining Camp up. Are you ready to get started? Okay. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to where I've saved some codes, and I'm going to copy the first code that I saved. And I'm going to go to my main page, and I'm going to put it down where it says share code. So you didn't watch me make this. This was already made ahead of time. Okay, so we know that with pre-K or TK and kindergarten students, we are all about learning to count. Okay, so I can give my students a simple task such as, how many linking cubes do you see? And I can just scatter several linking cubes and ask them to count them. So what is the first thing that I'm going to be looking for as my kids are counting these linking cubes? What's the first thing I would look for or listen for? Put that in the chat. What's the first thing you look for as kids are counting for you? Yes, one-to-one correspondence. Absolutely. and the counting sequence, making sure they're counting in the right order. Okay, so those are the very main things. So as I'm listening, hopefully I'm seeing 1, 2, 3, 4. But we do know that sometimes when they're scattered like this, the kids sometimes count each piece more than once, okay? Or they might count 1, 2, 5, 6, 9, 14, okay? So we're listening mainly for those two things. We're listening for one-to-one correspondence, and we're listening for the correct order, the correct sequence to those numbers, okay? So as soon as they've counted that for me, what I would do is I would take these while they're watching me, and I'm going to take each one and I'm going to line them up. And after I line them up, I'm going to ask, very simple question. They've already counted them for me. They watched me move them. They watched me see that I didn't put any more on the screen. I didn't take any off the screen. And again, I would say, how many are there? Why would I ask that again? They just counted them for me. Oh, you know what? Several of you have your chat box on just panelists. So double check and make sure down at the very bottom, that blue bar says panelists and attendees. It's a drop down. Great. If they've counted them in a different order, okay. Now what's going to happen is you're going to have some kids right after you, yes, it's the cardinality concept to show that it is the same number. You will have some kids that do not have that cardinality yet, and they're going to have to recount 1, 2, 3, and that's okay. They're just not there yet. You will know which ones have the cardinality because they'll say, there's 8. I just counted them for you. There's 8. So cardinality is knowing that that quantity did not change. That last number that I said is the quantity that is there. Okay, so I'm looking for students who have to recount that don't quite have that yet. Okay, and I'm looking for conservation of number. I can rearrange them and the quantity should not change. And one of the good tools that we use for that a lot of times for organization is this 10 frame, and it is available with the linking cubes as well. So if it helps them, they can drag these down. A little bit more organized, flexibility in my number. Taking a look. Okay. And it kind of helps me think, okay, there's 8. I know that there are 8 because I see 5 and 3 more. Okay. Very good. Okay. So now another thing that I want to look at with counting is producing. I want kids to be able to produce a particular amount. So I might do something like this. Put 5 squares in the circle. So I've already developed the sheet. I've already developed the screen. The kids just need to pull it in, and then they can manipulate by moving the squares over. Then they can share their code with me, and I can see what they've done. Okay. So we can do counting collections. We can do producing. We can also do dot patterns. And somebody mentioned this first thing. Oh, let me show you this one too. If you have some more advanced students, you might try multi-groups on the same page. So I might try 4 and 5 and 6 if we've already worked on those quantities. Okay, Little bit too much if they're still in that, and still in those early numeracy phases. But you can, these little sorting circles are down here. So I just click that, move them around wherever. I did the text box, but I could certainly use a marker and write the number that I wanted in. I wouldn't have to put the squares out. The kids can drag over theirs. It's just a little bit easier sometimes if the squares are already out. Okay. So I'm going to go back and we're going to talk about these dot patterns. Because what I want kids to do is I want kids to subitize. I want kids to learn to get past that counting on stage every single time and learn to visually see numbers, just like we do with dice and cards and things like that. So I want you to look at this. This is kind of a math talk. I would show this dot pattern and I would ask the kids, how many do you see? And not only how many do you see, but how do you see it? So put in the chat, how many do you see, but how do you see it? So as you're looking at that dot pattern, what kind of visual images did you see to help you count it without counting each dot? Or what types of things did you, have you worked on with your students to help them see these patterns? So almost everyone is saying, oh, I see two different ways. Good. Good. Most of you are seeing one group of 6 and one more. So just like your students, you would count on, you would say 6 and one more is 7. Some of you said, I see 2 groups of 3. I know my doubles. I see 3 here, and one more. Anybody see it differently? Now that you've already seen it that way, 2, 2, 2, and one more. So groups of 2, 2, 4, 6, and one more. Good. So stretch your brain a little bit more. Oh, a square with 9, but we're missing 2. So if we're used to this 9, he visualized 9, but we're missing 2. So that's 7. Good. 3 and 4. And I'm going to assume that you see the, I would see the 3 here. So correct me if I'm wrong. And then I see the 4 like you do on a dice. 2 and 3 and 2 more. And that brings me to the idea where we're looking at that benchmark of 5. So 2 and 3, there's my 5, and 2 more. Ooh, you guys got a lot of ways. Excellent. Let's do another dot pattern. I love dot patterns on here because we can easily build them. I'm using the 2-color counters. Easy to build the dot patterns. Let's look at another dot pattern. Gonna share my code. How about this one? How many dots do you see and how do you see it? How many dots do you see? How do you see it? Ooh, good one. Oh, good. Okay, so several people said, you know what? I see 5 and 5. Nice. Then somebody said, Oh, let me go back in the chat to that one. Hang on. Somebody said, I see 6 and 4, and I'm going to assume, let's see, we could have the kids share with us, 6 in the middle and then 4 more on the outside. Those benchmarks of 10 are so important. Somebody else said 8 in the wings and 2 in the middle. Oh, I like in the wings too. Looks like a butterfly. So 8, so they're using their doubles again. 4 and 4 plus the 2 in the middle. Nice. 2 groups of 3 and 2 groups of 2. Okay, so again, doubles. Here's my 2 groups of 3 and 2 groups of 2. Nice. And good, and most of you 5 and 5. Nice. Okay, so that's a great way to use them. We're going to do one more with our counting and cardinality. We're going to look at decomposing some numbers. And we're going to use a story problem because we like to use things in context, not just what I call naked math. So here I have a little story problem. And the way that I put that in here was I just went down to the text box. Now I put in 2 different ones so that it wouldn't be one long sentence. But I just typed in a pet store has dogs and cats. And then I typed in, if there are 7 animals, what are all the possibilities? Now, this is where I want you to develop some on your Braining Camp screen, and I want you to share. So this is what I want to do. I want, let's do the green is going to be our dogs. And our blue, oops, I'm sorry. If I want to delete one item, I can just click on it and delete it. Okay, and I'm going to have the blue be our cats. So I'm in a pet store and I have dogs and cats. There are 7 animals total. What are all the possibilities? So let's just get us started, and then I want you guys to work a few up and send them to us to share. Okay, so for example, I know that I've got 7, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, but I know that they can't all be dogs because it has dogs and cats. So I'm going to change one of these to a cat. So what I can do is just click that one, and I'm going to toggle the color until I get it to blue. So here is a model of 7 animals. 6 of them are dogs and 1 of them is a cat. So what I want you to do is come up with lots of possibilities. What are some other possibilities that I could have for my collection of dogs and cats in the pet store? So what I want you to do on your screen is build some collections, some possibilities. And once you have several built, I want you to come over here to the share button. I want you to click share, click link or code, and I want you to copy your share code and then go to the chat box and paste it in. And then I'm going to go to the chat box and see what you have. So go ahead. By the way, if you want to move this whole collection, you can highlight over the whole thing and move the whole collection. You can also delete the whole collection, but I'm going to leave that one. Looks like Vanessa has something to share. Nice. So I'm going to go to Vanessa's. Nope. Sorry. Click the wrong thing. I'm going to go down to the share code. Let's see what she has. Ooh, She has been busy. Okay, so look what she did. She did and this is what we're going to talk with our kids about, is doing an organized list. So she's got hers all organized. She's got one of one animal and then 6 of the other. And she has developed all the way down. Excellent, Vanessa. Anybody else have that kind of a picture? Okay, let's see what Sarah has. Nice. Oh, and she said, oh, nice, Sarah. Sarah went down and did a different mat. So she's got her number line so that it shows. That's very nice, Sarah. It shows on her number line how many of each. I can easily see that she's got 6 of the green and then 1 more blue makes 7. And I can see that all of her collections equal 7. Beautiful. Anybody else have one to share? Have you guys already been doing a lot of the sharing? Looks like you jumped right in. Kristen, let's see what Kristen has. Go back to my main screen. Remember, I'm just clicking under share code. Oh, she's got them on 10 frames. Look at how many different things you guys have done. Excellent. So I can easily see as I'm looking at the 10 frames that all of them show 7. Okay. 5 of one, 2 of another, 4 of one, 3 of another, 3 of one, 4 of the other. Nice. Oh, I like these different models. Elizabeth, let's see what Elizabeth has. You guys, you are so creative. These look great. Okay, so we had some graphing. Nice. So she's got hers modeled this way, vertically. That looks great. And I can still see that sequence of it going down. I can see that they're all the same height. Nice. Let's see Elisa's. Ooh, 10 frames again. Nice. Oh, now, Elisa, I'm going to add one more to yours. 4, 5, 6. So I'm going to add another blue out. That's okay, Elisa. That was it was good. You missed the last one, but let me show you something. Even though this is Elisa's screen, I can manipulate it and add the other cube to it, or add the other tile. Okay, which is really nice too. So when kids send you work, you can actually make comments on it and send it back to them. Okay, let's see what Maria's got. Because just like kids, we get very excited sharing our work. Let's see, Maria. Nice. So she's got hers horizontally as well. Good. And that shows different possibilities. Oh, good question. So Sarah says, if Elisa had fixed it on her end, would it show up on the link that you had? No. The link that she sent me is going to look exactly like as soon as it takes that picture, as soon as it links, it's going to show me exactly. But what she can do is fix it on her end and send me a new code. Oh, and it looks like that's what she just said. Good. Okay, nice. All right. So let's look. Let's see what Ryan has. Oh, excellent. Now Ryan has even put in his number combinations. So 7 is equal to 6 plus 1. 7 is equal to, so he's got all of his number combinations in there as well. Nice. Let's see what Joan has. These look great, guys. You guys are already experts. Ah, and good. Use the number line as well. So let me show you that real quick for those of you who weren't quite sure where that was. Thank you guys for bringing that up. Down here in the bottom right, I've got it just set on a blank on basic, but I can change to do the number line. And we kind of pointed that out a little bit before, but then as you drag things down, the kids can actually see. Now you can drag one piece at a time, or you can do a quick click. And your program will kind of intuitively figure out where you wanted that next piece. It may get it right and it may not. So you can easily move it and shift it somewhere else. Okay, let's look at a couple more and then let's move on to something different. Even though we're having a blast, right? You guys are doing great with the share codes. Okay, this is Mary Ellen's. Good, and she's got 10 frames. Okay, so she's got 10 animals on each and all the different combinations for 10. And Yvonne, oh, 2 cats, has a Venn diagram. Okay, with her sorting. And so she could actually, that's a great way to visualize it. We could do several different graphs, several different Venn diagrams that show all the different combinations. And she used the text in order to type it in. This shows 2 cats and 5 dogs. Nice. And let's see what Maria has. Nice. Okay, so I've got 4 different collections showing in my 10 frames. Good. Okay, let me look real quick. I think some people, okay, most of you are now set to panelists and attendees. Good. Okay, the next thing I want to talk about are the 10 frames, because we just did, several of you jumped right in and we love using the 10 frames. And I think 10 frames are a great visual for students. But I want to show you where all I will see the 10 frames. So I will see the 10 frames. We've already seen that we will see them in the color tiles. We'll also see them with 2 color counters. So I can pull up a 10 frame there as well and use my 2 color counters. Okay. I also have 10 frames in the snap cubes. So down here at the very bottom. Also remember, if you're only working with 5 frames, you can build a 5 frame using this adjustable one. So I can do a 1 and 5 frame. Unfortunately, it will show the numbers on the side, but that's okay. Okay, that's our open array that I can change. So as I'm moving snap cubes over again, I can drag the first piece. I can do a quick click. If I want these to be on the bottom, I just drag it down. The program was just assuming that I wanted it to continue in that order. I can just easily move it and change it around. If I want to erase this, delete this whole thing, I will have to highlight it, and then I can delete that whole thing. Okay. If I wanted to just delete one piece, maybe I asked the kids to show me 3 and they accidentally pulled over 4. They can just click on that 4th piece and just delete that one. Okay. So we can use 10 frames to represent numbers and using those benchmarks of 5 and 10. So let's look first. I can use it to compare numbers.
Angie, we did have a question come up in the chat.
Yes, absolutely.
Kristen is asking about showing their work on the iPad, if you know how students are able to
I
do
think that is still in progress right now. from their iPad. I thought that that had been fixed, but I know that they are working on that.
And Elizabeth had a great suggestion of just taking a screenshot and posting it that way.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. Take a screenshot and send it to you. That's a good way. All right. So let's look at this particular problem and how we would model it on a 10 frame. Paul has 3 blue marbles and 4 red marbles. Does he have more blue or red? So we can model easily in our 10 frame. I can put in my 3 and I can put in my 4. This is where my program does not know where I want that 4. Okay? And so I can easily see, do I have more blue? Do I have more red? So 10 frames are great not only for counting and not only for subitizing numbers up to 10, but it's a nice way to compare numbers. And this is just comparing numbers less than 10. If I wanted to work with larger numbers, let's say I wanted to compare, hang on. Seven and 6. I could build 6 in one and 7 in the other. And it's a very visual of which one is greater. Okay. So let's look at a story problem. Always good to use context. Okay. How we would use it with addition. So we know that we're working with numbers to 10. Okay. Oh, thank you, Ryan. Ryan made a how-to for what Elizabeth mentioned and posted it in the, if you have not viewed a lot of Ryan's little videos and helpful hints and things like that, you might want to take a few minutes to do that. That's excellent. Okay. All right. So there were 3 children playing on the swings at recess. There were 2 children playing on the slide. How many children were playing in all? How would I model that? Well, very easy with my 10 frame. I can put in my 3. I can put in my 2. And I can easily see that I've filled up the top row. So what I want you to do right now is to make a very simple word problem where we can use a 10 frame in order to solve our problem. So I want you to practice using your text here to put your problem in. And then you can easily, once you've put the problem in the text, you can wiggle that around. So it'll pop up down here where this says text, but you can move it. And I want you to either go, I'm going to give you a choice. You can go to any of those manipulatives that have the 10 frame. So if you like snap cubes, if you like 2-color counters, if you like color tiles better, go to whichever one of those you want. And in order to get rid of this, let me just delete. Okay. Type in a very simple problem and model it using a 10 frame. Okay. So again, use your text box, put a problem in, use whichever manipulative you'd like, either snap cubes, 2-color counters, or color tiles, and show that problem. Just to kind of give you practice making a real simple problem that can be shared. And then we'll go share your screen, put your code in the chat box, and we'll take a look to see what you got. Now, if you'd rather write using the marker instead of using the text, it's just a little bit easier when you've got a lot of writing to use the text. And I'll share your code. And do you have a preference for manipulatives? Is there a manipulative you tend to use more than others? And again, this is using the 10 frame, which is an excellent visual model for those benchmarks of 5 and 10. And if you want to just use a 5 frame, feel free to do that as well. So hopefully you're busy typing away. Okay, good. Maria's got one. I know that took a little while. I'm sorry, guys. All right. Let's see what she's got. See which manipulative she selected. 2 color counters. So 5 students were working at their desk. 3 students were working at the computer center. How many students were working in the classroom? Nice model. And she put the equation down there too. Good. Elizabeth, let's see what you got. Good. 4 students on the swings and 5 students at the play structure. How many students are there in all? And she's got her equation as well. 4 plus 5 is 9. This is a nice one too, because kids can see that it's 9 because 1 is left empty in the 10 frame. Nice. Santa ate 3 cookies and 3 candy canes. How many treats did he have in all? Nice, and in Christmas colors. Good. So what I did want to show you too, this is a good one for that, is if we've already got it modeled and then I wanted to ask what the equation is, what would I write? Then we can actually add to it and we can just use the marker. So I can say 3 plus 3, maybe, equals 6. Or we could add to somebody's page using the text. I can't change the size of the text. That's a good, and no font. That's a good point, Elizabeth, for me to ask about, because there is just one text, one font. Okay, and I can't change the size of it, but I think they are working on that. Always something that they're dreaming up and coming up with to make it better. And that's what you'll find too, Oh, good. 2 students with green markers, 4 students with red markers. How many markers are there all together? And she even did the colors, the markers in the color tiles. Nice. Okay. So what you will notice is each time you log in, there might be some changes. So for example, this eraser used to only erase whatever I'd written, but now I can click it and I can clear all the drawings of anything that's on that page instead of individually. Okay, let's see what Yvonne has. Good, so she's used snap cubes. There were 5 people eating turkey and 2 people eating pie. How many people were eating? This is what we're talking about with, sometimes if we type it all in, it's gonna be pretty long. So we might want to type in a couple of different sentences. Good. Okay, so I'm gonna go back. And that's using the 10 frame, which I think is a very, very good manipulative to use for primary students. And let's look at the Rec and Rick, because to me, this is one of my very favorite manipulatives. Kind of pop into the chat how familiar you are with a Rec and Rick, okay, from 0 to 5. How familiar are you with a Rec and Rick? Okay, so I have from 0 to 5. Okay. All right, so let's look at it real quick. I'm going to turn my video on real fast just to show you a physical Rec and Rick. Okay, so this is what a Rec and Rick looks like. There are also Rec and Ricks that are larger, that have more beads. This one has 100. There are also demonstration Rec and Ricks, larger versions, and there are little mini ones too, and I didn't put a mini one out, but just looking at a Rec and Rick, okay, beads slide over, okay. If I'm looking at a regular Rec and Rick, sorry, I moved over the wrong end, I see 2 rows, so normally I will see 2 rows of 10. And I will notice these benchmarks of 5 and 10. So as I'm looking at a Rec and Rick, I push all beads over to the right, and I'm only reading what's on the left. So for example, this isn't showing me anything. I slide over, that is 3, okay? I see these benchmarks of 5 and 10 so that I'm not having to count. If I say show me 6, what I don't want students to do is move them over one at a time. 1, 2, 3. I don't want them to do that. I want them to know that there were 5 red and I need 1 more to make 6. And I want them to do it in one push. Good, Elizabeth, you made them with craft foam, pipe cleaners, and pony beads. Yep, that's an excellent, excellent way to make sure that all of your students have some. I have a whole class set that are handmade, okay? But I also have the sturdy ones that I can use in the classroom as well. Okay. So for example, if I want to show 7 plus 7, I can easily see that 7 plus 7, I see 10 red and 4 more. So I know that 7 and 7 is 14. Oh, nice. A pool noodle and PVC pipes. I do have a big demonstration like that as well. And right now I saw pool noodles at the dollar store in Christmas colors. So I got some red and white. Normally my demonstration Rec and Rick is red and yellow because I couldn't find any white pool noodles. And now there are white pool noodles out at Christmas time. So that's kind of cool. All right, so getting to know your Rec and Rick, down here at the very bottom, now there's not a bar here because the Rec and Rick is in the center. It is it is what it is. It's in the middle. So I can change, however, the number of rows on my Reckon-Rick. So if I'm working with primary students and we're just working up to 10 with subitizing, then I would only use 1 row. If I'm working with a regular Reckon-Rick, I would use the 2 rows. If I'm working with older students, I would do the 10 rows up to 100. And notice that halfway, it flips. And that's an important thing to notice as well, because as we're subitizing and as we're seeing those numbers, we know just by glancing whether we're less than 50 or more than 50 by looking at that benchmark. Okay, so I'm going to go back to 2 rows. Another couple of things you might notice at the very bottom. I'm on the regular. When I click this, it's got kind of a transparent cover, because sometimes we don't want the kids to focus over here. We want them to focus on the left. Okay. Or I might have it solid where I don't have them see anything, because maybe I'm pulling some over and I say, okay, how many beads are left on the right underneath my cover? And they should be able to tell me that there are 2, because I see 8 and 2 more make 10. So looking at those benchmarks of 10. I also have over here to the right a counting tool. So I can push it over and I see 5. And if I push over 2 more, as soon as I've joined them together, I see the total. Okay. Also have a tool where we kind of see the background, the bars. I don't usually use that very much, but okay. Then I also have where we've got 20 beads in a row on each one if I'm working with some double-digit addition with a little bit older children. So I'm going to put it back on basic. I'm going to take off the numbering, okay, and I'm not going to use any covers, okay? So just getting to know the Reckon-Rick, I can easily do some number talks with it. Math talks, number strings, okay? So for example, and I'm not sure how familiar you are with using number strings or problem strings. Those are 5 problems where you're building some strategies with your students. So what I would do first is I would show the students this, and I would say, how many beads do you see? And how do you see it? So just pop in the chat real quick. How many beads do you see? How do you see it? How do you know that you see that many beads? How many beads and how do you see it? Okay, good. Excellent. So you automatically said 5 because there's 5 red on the top row and I used all 5. Okay, now, how many do you see and how do you see it? Good, 5, because I see 3 and 2 more. Okay. Oop. Runaway bead. Now, how many do you see and how do you see it? Good. So you see 2 and 3 more. Good. And how many do you see and how do you see it? That's okay, Michelle. Was that for your hand raising? That's all right. Good. 4 and 1 more. So One more. How many do you see? How do you see it? Good. You see 5 because you knew that there were 5 on the bottom. So this particular number string works with subitizing. So I'm trying to get the kids to visually see the number 5. Okay, let's look at the Rec and Rick as far as using the 5 and 10 structure. So let me do another number string with you. A number string is just 5 problems that work together to build a particular strategy. So that first one was subitizing, visually seeing that number 5. Let's work on using that 5 and 10 structure. So for example, how many do you see and how do you see it? And if you don't use Rec and Rics, I would highly recommend getting some in your hands, in your kids' hands. They are an amazing tool. Yes, 10 because it's all the beads that are on the top. And I see 5 and 5 more. Okay. Now how many beads do you see and how do you see it? Okay, so, oh, good. We see it 2 different ways. Excellent. So some people said, I see 5 and 3 more. So they're using their benchmark of 5. Some people said there are 10 on the top row and we're missing 2. So there's 8. So using their benchmark of 10. Some of you use the benchmark of 5. Some of you use that benchmark of 10. Good. So how about this one? How many do you see and how do you see it? We've already done one similar. Good. Benchmark of 5. Good. Okay. How many do you see and how do you see it? Good. You see the 5 and 1 more. This one's not as easy for kids to see the 10 minus the 4. This one's more, it's closer to the 5, just like our rounding as we're getting later, as we get too late in later years. What about this one? What do you see and how do you see it? Good. And most of you saw it as good. 10 minus the 1, so there are 9. Okay. So using that 5 and 10 structure is so important, and that Rec and Ric is visual for those 5s and 10s with the red and the white beads. So I can work on subitizing with my kids where they're not actually having to count each individual bead. I'm moving them from that counting phase to more of an additive phase. I'm moving them to subitizing and seeing those numbers. Okay. Now I'm going to throw out one of my very favorite activities. Kids love this one. This is called Can You Guess My Way? So what I've done is on a Rec and Ric, and I've already done it, and I've already saved the screen, so I can't change my mind or change my answer. But I have modeled how can I model the number 9? I hope that's the number I picked now that I'm thinking about it. I modeled the number 9. Can you guess how I modeled it? How many beads did I have on the top? How many beads did I have on the bottom? How do you think I modeled the number 9? Okay, so somebody says they think I have 5 on the top and 4 on the bottom. That is a great way to make 9, and I'm gonna kind of record our thought here. 5 and 4. It's a great way to make 9. But it's, oop, that erased mine. That was what I was afraid of. 5 plus 4. But that's not the way I did it. Can you guess the way I made 9? So it's not 5. Okay, so somebody said 4 on the top, and 5 on the bottom. So, and I would write all these ways down of what the kids come up with, and they're modeling on their Reckon Rec. How do you think I made the number 9? Okay. Somebody said, all right, that wasn't my way though. So let's see what somebody else says. They said, I think you modeled 8 on the top and 1 on the bottom. That's a great way to make 9. 8 on the top, 1 on the bottom. But that wasn't the way I made it. Can you guess the way I made mine? 3 on the top and 6 on the bottom. And do you see as kids are doing this, how many different ways they are making that particular number? So you can pick whatever number you're going to be working on. So this is 3 and 6. That's a great way to make 9. It's not my way. Somebody said, 9 on the top and 0 on the bottom. That's a great way to make 9. You write that up here. But it's not my way. What else? You said 7 on the top and 2 on the bottom. That's a great way to make 9. But it's not my way. What else you got? Oh, put my marker back. 1 on the top and 8 on the bottom. That's a great way to make 9. But it's not my way. You guys are good here. Let's see. Look how many different combinations you're making. Okay. So somebody said 2 on the top and 7 on the bottom. That's a great way to make 9. Oops. Look how many different combinations we're coming up with. You guessed my way. So this is probably the favorite activity for the kids that I work with for making number combinations. So I could ask them to write all the number combinations or make them all, and they would roll their eyes and, we got to write all those out. But I pull this out and they will get their Reckon Recs out and they will try to figure out my combination. Okay, so that's called Can You Guess My Way? All right, questions about the Reckon Rec. It is a great way to address addition commutativity, yes, because although somebody earlier said 7 on the top and 2 on the bottom, it looks totally different than 2 on the top and 7 on the bottom. Although they do both equal 7, or I'm sorry, both equal 9, okay? Okay, I wanna look at another manipulative that I hope we have time for. I want to look at Cuisenaire rods. Now, most people are not real familiar with Cuisenaire rods, although they've been around for a long, long, long time. Okay, they were developed by Mr. Cuisenaire. And if you've been followed our company for a while, you know that we bought the Cuisenaire company and that our name at one time was ETA Cuisenaire. But we did drop that because too many people mixed us up with Cuisinart. So Cuisenaire rods were developed by Mr. Cuisenaire, and they are rods that are different lengths. So this is 1 centimeter, 2 centimeters, 3 centimeters, and all the way up to 5 centimeters. Different browser. Oh, for the Reckon Recs. That's strange. So I will take a look at that. And Tracy, you didn't have any problems with the other manipulatives that we've been using? You were only having trouble with the Rec and Rec? Let me know. Everything else worked fine, but the Rec and Recs did not? Okay, I will ask about that. That is strange. So let me, I'm going to take a quick picture of your comment. And I'm going to send that to Braining Camp. Okay. And I will ask about that and send my response to Ryan. Anytime you have trouble or questions with Braining Camp, you can always email support@brainingcamp.com. They will get back to you almost immediately. They are very, very quick about getting back. Cuisinart rods, if you're not familiar with them, they're 1 centimeter, 2 centimeters, 3 centimeters. And I do have the option of putting the numbers on them. Each rod is 1 centimeter different than the next rod. Now in the virtual, there's also an adjustable rod if I want to work with numbers greater than 10. Okay, I can adjust it to whatever length I want, but obviously that's not in the regular Cuisinart rods. There is also the option to put a grid in the back. Okay, so what I like to use Cuisinart rods for in primary grades is longer, shorter, greater, less. Okay, they can easily pull them over and compare them. I am going to take the numbers off. Take that out. Okay. Another thing I like to do with them are decomposing and composing numbers and number bonds, part whole. So we're going to pick a rod. Let's pick the yellow one. And we can count one. Since I have it on the grid, I almost always have a centimeter grid for children as they're working with the Cuisinart rods. So I can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's 5 units long. And what I want you to do is I want you to find what we call 2 color trains. I want you to find 2 rods that when I put them together, they are the same length as my yellow rod. What 2 rods do you think I can put right under my yellow rod that will be the same length as my yellow rod? Red and green. Let's try it. I have 2 greens though, by the way. I have a light green and a dark green. I'm going to assume that you mean the light green. So I'm going to move the red and the light green over. Look at there. That red was a 2. And that light green was a 3. What else could I do? I could use a white and a purple. Good. So I have a 1 and a 4. What else could I use? Any other combinations? I could do the purple first and then the white. Correct. And again, using that commutative property. And again, I could use the light green and then the red. And I can put the whole numbers on so that when I'm moving them over, I can see those number combinations. Okay, so what I want you to do is I want you to pick one of the rods, 6, 7, 8, 9, or 10. I want you to pick a number that is greater than the 5. Okay, and remember we're making just 2 colors. So I only want 2 rods underneath for each one. So Yvonne recommended a red, a white, a white, a white, and that would work, but I want to stick with just 2 numbers for right now, just 2 add-ins, okay? So I want you to pick one of these that is greater than the yellow, and I want to see your 2 color trains below it. 2 color trains. And share with us your code. So you can either pick dark green, you can pick black, you can pick brown, you can pick blue. Now, since we won't have time, because I did want us to look at the orange one, because that is our benchmark of 10, making 10. And it's really important that our kids learn the different ways to make 10. So let's look. Sarah. See what Sarah has. See what she picked. Ooh, nice. So, and she used her number line. Yay! So she's got hers on the 9, and she's got all the different combinations, and she was very organized in her method. Okay, so she's got her 8 and 1, 1 and 8. So she's kept her number families together. Nice. Okay, let's see what Yvonne has. Good. Okay, so Yvonne chose the blue. So she's got her blue, and then she's got her different combinations below. Nice. So we had the blue. We had, what was, Sarah, I forgot what yours was. Okay, we've got the 6, and she's got her numbers showing and using the number line. Good. Oh, Ryan, was that one yours? I'm sorry. Did I say she? Let me see if I did yours. Yeah, that was Ryan. Sorry. Good. I like the number line and the numbers showing as well. Joan, let's see what you've got. These look great. You guys are experts. Experts, I say. Nice. So Joan used the 8 rod, the brown. Got her doubles and her different combinations. Good. This is a good point too, as the kids are working with this, that why do some of the numbers get a double and some of them do not? Because we were doing the different number combinations in the commutative. Why do some have a double and some do not? Okay. Oh, okay, she's got her 7. I was looking for your 7. Good. Oh, good, Tracy. You just refreshed and it worked. So now the Tracy, I'm assuming you're talking about the Rec and Rick. The Rec and Rick is now working for you. Perfect. So good. Now we have the 7 and then the different combinations here. And see, Amy chose the 7, and I don't see any doubles here. So that's a really good number combination to talk about with kids. Why would that be? Okay. All right. So let me go back to here, okay? And let's see, you guys did a fabulous job participating. I wanna know if there are still some questions that you have about using Braining Camp, but I wanna point out one thing first, okay? I want you to think about concepts and skills that you teach with manipulatives, okay? And being able to model it using the virtual manipulatives, okay? I want you to explore with Braining Camp. I want you to just dive in try it. You're not going to hurt the program. You're not going to make it crash, I promise, okay? And if you're not sure which manipulative to use, Google the concept you want to teach with how to do it using manipulatives, because I guarantee it that if you Google it and you Google the concept with manipulatives, someone somewhere has tried it using manipulatives, and you'll be able to see some examples. Dive into those videos, those helpful videos that were on there, as well as the teaching ideas, and just give it a shot. Build some screens already made that you can put into a Google document and share those pre-made screens. Share with your colleagues to develop something for each one of your units. Okay, remember that those are workable pages. They're independent as the students pull them up, and they don't expire. So you can set them up for each one of your units and have them from year to year. Okay, so questions as you are, I can put myself back in, and hopefully we'll see Nathan and Ryan coming back in a minute. Okay. There's Ryan. Did you have fun? Good. Okay, anyone interested in reviewing or sharing this? Ryan said that the recording, okay, is going to be available for you. So if you didn't get everything during that time, because it was full of activity and full of people participating, easily go back and look through the recording and dive in.
Yep, we should hopefully have that available, I would hope, shortly.
Okay.
And then I'll pass it over to Ryan.
Okay.
Sounds good.
All right. Questions, anybody? No? Okay. Up on the screen, I do have Nathan's contact information. So if you have questions about any of the materials, questions about using the Braining Camp, feel free to forward those questions to Nathan. And he can answer them, or he can forward them to me. And especially if you have questions about getting any of the other materials that match up to the virtual materials as well. Oh, you are very welcome, guys. Thank you for being so fun. Primary teachers are just the best, aren't they?
I agree.
Remember, you guys are the experts in that early numeracy. You are setting that foundation for everyone. Oh, good. I'm glad it's been very helpful. Good. Yay. So many great ideas. Good, good, good. Okay.
Awesome. Well, thank you everybody for joining, and have a
Thank
great
you.
rest of the school year.
I hope you have a